The Ship of Dreams, Part 1. The ocean stretched vast and endless, shimmering under a sky painted in the soft hues of dusk. Waves lapped gently against the hull of the great vessel, a ship unlike any the world had ever seen. It was sleek, crafted from a material that was neither metal nor wood, but something impossibly smooth and gleaming, reflecting the stars that had begun to awaken in the heavens. Its name, written in glowing letters on its side, was Aurora Noctis, the Ship of Dreams. Summoned by those who dared to dream beyond the confines of reality, Aurora Noctis had arrived from the future, piercing through the veils of time and space. It had no crew, no captain, only a consciousness that responded to the desires of those aboard. This was not a vessel that simply carried passengers. It was a bridge between the waking world and a realm of boundless fantasy. Tonight, 6 dreamers stood upon its glistening deck, gazing out at the endless horizon. They had all come for different reasons, yet their hearts beat with the same longing, to journey beyond the known, into the enchanted waters where the edge of fantasy and reality blurred. The dreamers. Among them stood Lilia and Kolya, a mother and son who had left behind the ordinary world forever. Lilia's silver blonde hair flowed freely in the ocean breeze, her eyes alight with a hope she had not felt since childhood. She had worked tirelessly in the mundane world, scraping by, burdened by worries that never seemed to end. But here, at last, she would find peace. Kolya, a boy of 12, clutched his mother's hand, his dark curls tousled by the wind. His mind had always been full of dreams, worlds where he could fly, where cities of glass floated among the stars, where forests whispered secrets and rivers sang. He had begged his mother to believe that such a place could exist. And now, they were sailing toward it together. Then there was Adrian, a painter whose canvases had never been enough to contain the visions in his mind. He had spent his life trying to capture beauty, but no color, no brushstroke had ever felt real enough. He had longed to step into a world where art was not just seen, but lived, and now, with a sketchbook in hand, he watched the sea as though it were the very first time he had ever seen it. Beside him stood Myril, a quiet woman with hair dark as the midnight sea. She had always been a dreamer, but she had been trapped in a life where dreams were seen as foolish. A librarian by trade, she had spent years reading about magic without ever touching it. But here, on this ship, she could already feel the air hum with possibility. Rounding out the group were twin brothers, Orion and Elias. They were adventurers at heart, their spirits restless in a world that had grown too small. Their dream had always been the same, to discover the undiscoverable, to set foot where no one else had dared. And the enchanted islands that lay ahead. They would be their greatest discovery yet. The journey begins. The ship glided forward, cutting through the sea with a silence that felt almost reverent. The water beneath it shimmered with colors unseen in the waking world, deep indigos and liquid golds, silver ripples that flickered like moonlight caught in the waves. Above them, the stars burned brighter than they ever had on Earth, as if welcoming the dreamers into a place where light itself was alive. On the second night, the ocean began to change. The waves grew warmer, and bioluminescent creatures rose from the depths, glowing with hues of sapphire, emerald, and violet. They swam alongside the ship, their bodies weaving intricate patterns in the water. "This is it," Kolya whispered, gripping the railing. "We're almost there." And then, as dawn broke, the islands appeared. They were unlike anything the travelers had ever seen. Emerald green jungles tumbled down to beaches of silver sand. Waterfalls poured from cliffs that shimmered like crystal, their streams flowing upward instead of down. The air was thick with the scent of unknown flowers, their petals shifting colors with the breeze. And in the sky, dragons. Great, ethereal beasts of mist and moonlight soared overhead, their wings dispersing clouds like whispers of silk. This was the place, the realm where dreams took form. A wish written in ink. As the Aurora Noctis docked, the 6 travelers stepped onto the shore, their footprints vanishing behind them as though the island itself refused to let the past follow. A small table stood near the water's edge, and upon it, a stack of blank parchment and quills of iridescent feathers. Lilia reached for a sheet with trembling fingers. Kolya took her hand, guiding it gently. "Write it down, Mom," he whispered. "Write our wish." She hesitated only a moment before pressing the quill to the parchment. "We wish to live here forever, in a world without worry, where dreams shape reality, and magic is as natural as breath." The moment the final word was written, the ink shimmered. The paper lifted from the table, dissolving into golden light that scattered like fireflies into the air. And in that instant, the island itself shifted. A small cottage of white stone and flowering vines rose from the earth, its windows glowing warmly. Inside, bookshelves lined the walls, stacked with stories Lilia had never had time to read. A garden bloomed at the doorstep, filled with Kolya's favorite fruits, ones that had only existed in his imagination until now. A gentle breeze wrapped around them, carrying a whisper. "Welcome home." Lilia fell to her knees, tears slipping down her cheeks, not of sorrow, but of the deepest, most profound joy she had ever known. They had done it. They had stepped beyond the edge of reality and into a world where wishes were law. And here, in the land of endless dreams, they would never have to wake up again. The Ship of Dreams, Part 2. The Aurora Noctis sailed through enchanted waters, its sleek, futuristic frame slicing through the shimmering waves. The 6 dreamers stood at the deck, marveling at the ever-changing sky, where constellations shifted like living paintings. Their voyage had only begun, and before them lay 6 islands, each a fragment of paradise, each a world of its own. For 12 weeks, the ship would dock at each island for 2 weeks, giving the travelers the chance to explore and, if they chose, to stay. The islands were the threshold between fantasy and reality, places where time held no dominion, where wishes shaped the world. The 6 Islands of Dreams. 1. Evermere, the Isle of Eternal Spring. The first island they encountered was Evermere, a land bathed in eternal springtime. Rolling hills covered in lavender and wildflowers stretched as far as the eye could see. Cherry blossoms drifted through the air, filling the sky with pink petals, even though there were no seasons here, only a warm, golden spring that never faded. A city of crystalline spires and marble bridges stood at the island's heart. Streets paved with silver cobblestones wound through markets where the scent of fresh-baked pastries and honeyed fruit lingered. The people of Evermere were musicians, poets, and artisans, crafting beauty in every form imaginable. Instead of gold, they traded in melodies. If you hummed a song, you could buy anything you desired. The nights here were luminous, as bioluminescent fireflies danced among floating lanterns. There was no need for sleep, instead, dreamers attended festivals beneath the stars, where laughter rang like wind chimes. But for all its wonders, Evermere was a gentle dream, a place of peace. And so, the travelers moved on, seeking greater adventure. To Noctis Vale, the island of moonlight and shadows. Their next stop was Noctis Vale, an island cloaked in eternal twilight. Here, the sun never rose, yet the world was bathed in the silver glow of an ever-present moon. The land was a vast forest of tall, bioluminescent trees, their trunks black as onyx, their leaves shimmering in hues of violet and sapphire. Rivers of starlight flowed between the trees, reflecting constellations not found in any mortal sky. In the heart of the forest stood an ancient city carved into the mountains, illuminated by glowing crystals. The people of Noctis Vale were wanderers of the night, scholars of forgotten lore, and dream weavers who sculpted illusions into tangible art. In their great halls, stories came to life, acted out by living shadows that danced across the walls. It was a place of mystery and quiet wonder, but not all felt drawn to its twilight embrace. And so, the journey continued. 3 Tanora, the island of eternal autumn. When the Aurora Noctis reached the third island, something in Lilyar and Kolyar stirred. They felt as if they had arrived home. Tanora was the largest of the islands, a land of shifting climates but perpetual beauty. For part of the year, it basked in the warmth of summer, its beaches kissed by golden sunlight, its jungles alive with vibrant flowers. Then, seamlessly, the season would turn to autumn. Trees shed their green for brilliant hues of crimson, amber, and gold. Thunderstorms swept across the sky, filling the air with the fresh scent of rain. A grand city of white stone and towering spires stood at the island's heart, its streets paved with marble, its houses adorned with flowering vines. Here, everything was given freely, not for money, but for smiles. Shops and markets brimmed with endless treasures, their shelves restocked by magic itself. At the city's center stood a magnificent opera house, where performances continued day and night, enchanting all who attended. No one aged here, no one grew weary. Fantastic creatures roamed freely, phoenixes and moonlit dragons, ethereal spirits and whispering winds. Sleep was unnecessary, for reality itself had become a dream. Lilyar and Kolyar knew, without hesitation, that this was their new home. And so, when the Aurora Noctis sailed onward, they remained behind, stepping fully into the life they had always longed for. For Miraval, the floating isles of endless skies. Far beyond Tanora lay Miraval, a world above the world, where floating islands drifted through the sky. Great waterfalls cascaded from one island to another, defying gravity, their waters vanishing into the clouds only to reappear again. Here, dreamers could fly, soaring on wings woven from wind. Cities of glass and gold hovered in the heavens, their bridges made of glowing stardust. People lived in sky palaces, tending to gardens that bloomed with celestial flowers. There were no roads, only endless sky and the freedom to explore it. Those who longed for the thrill of weightlessness, for a life unbound by gravity, chose to stay. But for those who desired the touch of earth beneath their feet, Miraval remained only a breathtaking memory. 5 Ilandria, the ocean of living dreams. Ilandria was not an island, but an endless sea, where the water was as clear as glass, reflecting the very dreams of those who sailed upon it. Coral cities lay beneath the waves, inhabited by merfolk with shimmering scales, their voices carrying the haunting melodies of the deep. Dreamers who set foot upon the floating docks could walk across the water itself, their footprints forming ripples of golden light. Each wave carried stories, and if you listened closely, you could hear the echoes of forgotten dreams. In Ilandria, reality shifted like the tides, and one could become anything, a sea dragon, a constellation, a being of liquid silver. Many were tempted to stay, to lose themselves in the ever-changing flow of magic. But others longed for something more tangible. And so, the voyage continued. 6 Silvera, the wildwood of endless wonders. The final island was Silvera, a place where nature itself was alive with magic. Towering trees with golden bark and silver leaves stretched toward the sky, their roots forming labyrinthine tunnels beneath the earth. Rivers glowed with an inner light, carrying whispered secrets from one grove to another. The inhabitants were beings of the forest, elves, fee, and beasts that could speak. It was a land where time had no meaning, where one could spend a day and find that 100 years had passed, or live 1,000 lifetimes and never age a day. For those who sought harmony with nature, Silvera was paradise. But for others, the call of adventure led them onward, back to the Aurora Noctis. A new beginning. As the ship prepared to leave the final island, 4 of the dreamers remained aboard, their hearts still searching. But for Lilia and Kolya, the journey had ended. On Tanora, they would live forever, in a world shaped by their wishes, surrounded by beauty that never faded. And so, as the Aurora Noctis vanished beyond the horizon, their new life began, an endless dream come true. The Ship of Dreams, Part 3. Lilia and Kolya's life on Tanora was a never-ending fairy tale, where every moment was an adventure and every dream took shape. The island's magic intertwined with their desires, allowing them to live stories that would have been impossible anywhere else. The Rookery of Water Dragons. One evening, as the golden sun dipped below the horizon, mother and son wandered to the southern coast, where the water dragons roosted. These magnificent creatures, sleek as serpents but gentle as whales, lay curled on the shore, their scales glimmering like moonlit waves. The dragons were preparing to send magic bubbles across the sea, each a vessel of a dream, meant to travel far until it reached the right dreamer. Lilia and Kolya eagerly joined the ritual, rolling the shimmering bubbles across the shore. With each touch, the bubbles sparkled, absorbing laughter and joy, growing larger before finally merging with the waves and floating toward the horizon. Somewhere in the world, those dreams would now come true. Catching the rainbow jellyfish. One day, Lilia and Kolya ventured to a hidden cove where the sky met the sea in a blur of color. There, flying rainbow jellyfish drifted above the water, their translucent bodies pulsing softly with an inner light. With laughter and delight, they reached out, catching the floating creatures in their hands. The moment they stroked the jellyfish's delicate surface, a cascade of color burst from them, stretching high into the sky like a radiant bridge. Soon, the sky was filled with intertwining rainbows, arcing over the entire island. It was said that these bridges connected dreams, allowing people to step across them in their imaginations and visit places unknown. And the jellyfish. They were happy to be caught, for this was their purpose, to bring color and wonder wherever they went. Flying on unicorns. A dream-like morning brought another marvel, unicorns with wings as soft as clouds. Their manes shimmered with silver light, their hooves never touching the ground. Lilia and Kolya climbed onto the backs of these gentle creatures, who made them weightless, lifting them effortless into the sky. As they rose above the clouds, the sea spread out beneath them in its full grandeur. They saw all 6 islands, forming a perfect star on the water, with Tanora at its heart. Any fear of heights melted away under the unicorn's magic, replaced with pure, boundless joy. They soared together, feeling freer than they ever had before. Meeting the dream pirates. Not all visitors to Tanora arrived on elegant ships, some came on pirate vessels, their sails adorned with constellations. But these were no ordinary pirates, they did not plunder gold or jewels. Instead, they sought dreams. The pirates listened to the tales of travelers, borrowing dreams as if they were treasures. They tried on the dreams for themselves, sailing through them, living them out, before finally crafting their own. That was how they navigated through life, weaving together an endless journey of borrowed and discovered wonders. Kolya and Lilia spent an entire evening sharing their stories with the pirates, watching as their words took shape in the air, forming ephemeral visions that the pirates eagerly captured in glass bottles, keeping them safe for their next grand adventure. Stopping the rain, catching lightning. One afternoon, A great rainstorm swept over Tanora, but instead of seeking shelter, Lilia and Kolya played among the falling drops. With a touch of magic, they froze the rain in place, suspending the drops mid-air. They ran through the shimmering beads of water, laughing as they spun between them, painting trails of light with their fingers. Kolya reached up and pulled gently on the lowest drops, drawing the rain downward like pulling on invisible threads. The entire sky trembled as the clouds obeyed, releasing their rain in sparkling streams. And then came the lightning. Not a bolt of destruction, but a living force of magic. It struck the ground, not with a crash, but with a melody, a resonant chime that sent shivers down their spines, not of fear, but of wonder. When Lilia reached out, the energy wrapped around her fingers like a silk ribbon, humming with life. She held it for a moment, feeling the soft static tickle her skin, before releasing it back into the sky. The magical opera house. Of all the wonders on Tanora, the greatest was the Grand Opera House, where performances unfolded like living dreams. Lilia and Kolya were not just spectators, they became part of the magic. With a mere thought, they helped weave the scenery, summoning mountains, oceans, and entire worlds onto the stage. The music of the orchestra filled the hall, but there was a special magic here. The instruments did not tune themselves. Each instrument had to be sung to, its body caressed with melodies so it could find its perfect pitch. With their beautiful voices, Lilia and Kolya sang, their harmonies awakening the strings and horns, tuning them to perfection. So mesmerizing was their song that the conductor insisted they perform in the show. That night, their voices soared, filling the opera house with a melody so pure that the stars themselves leaned closer to listen. A never-ending celebration. The performance was only the beginning. After the show, the opera house transformed into a place of celebration, where tables filled with magical feasts appeared as soon as one wished for them. Fabulous guests arrived, creatures of legend, spirits of the island, and dreamers from distant lands. Laughter and music wove through the air, carrying on until dawn. Here on Tanora, there were no endings, only the continuation of dreams. Lilia and Kolya had not merely found a home, they had found a realm where joy and wonder knew no limits. And so, they lived, forever part of a never-ending fairy tale, in the land where dreams became reality.